I don't want to see too much dropping into coverage. I don't want to see this guy is a traditional pass rusher. This guy should be going straight ahead.
Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. He's Mac, I'm Mac. That makes us Mac and Mac talking Eagles football. We do it day in and day out, Monday through Friday here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. And this is a good week because there's a lot to sink your teeth into. Free agency got its underway yesterday, J-Mac. And yesterday here, before they actually could start with announcements, yours truly was looking for a splash move from the Philadelphia Eagles. And darn if we didn't get one.
Yeah, we were talking about it. That was your guy, Haason Reddick, coming home, essentially going from North Broad Street back in the day to South Broad Street. But with the Temple Owl coming home, although Temple plays at Lincoln Financial Field anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's a good signing for the Eagles. You and I differed on the version of splash. I don't know if it's a splash, but it makes sense. I will say that.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. I looked up just one off the top of my head. I work for CBS Sports Radio. We got Jeff Kerr on who works for CBSSports.com. So I went to CBS Sports. They had him as the 13th ranked available free agent in this year's free agent.
I said,
that's a splash.
Well, again, is that pre everybody getting locked up or post everybody? Imagine post, where all the guys get franchised and, the Mike Williams of the world, all the guys who are expected to be free agents. Did Jeff Kerr put it together? Jeff's an Eagles guy.
You're not as big a fan, are you? Here?
I don't know. No, and I'm going to tell you why.
He hasn't taken a snap yet, and you're already.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. One of my favorite things is, and first of all, two things. So people people think I like Jonathon Gannon, which I do on a personal level. This puts Jonathon Gannon on notice because this is a player gotten specifically for him to play that Sam linebacker sort of hybrid edge rusher role. So that's, one of my concerns is this is a unique player. We've talked about this in the past with when we're talking about rookies and Kyle Hamilton or Micah Parsons last year. And those guys are top tier talents and all that kind of stuff, but you got to use them correctly. And one thing I know about the NFL, Jody, is in March, nobody, and I mean nobody, talks about the running game. They don't care about it. It doesn't exist to them. It doesn't matter. And I get it. I get it. For the most part, I'm on board with it. I think everybody knows what I think. You got to throw the football to win consistently. You got to get to the pass. I get it in a laboratory setting, and that's where we are. But you can't play him at defensive end at 6'1" and 237 pounds. So he's got to be that hybrid player. And I will say, if they play him like they played Jannard Avery, well, that's not going to work because he's going to be dropping into coverage, and that's a waste of his talents. So this is on Jonathon Gannon.
Right. Do you not have faith that Gannon will figure a way
I don't know.
to make him an integral part of the defense?
I hope. They signed him to be that. I mean, I wrote and I said that's the plan. That's going to be the plan. He's going to have that Sam linebacker role on early downs, and he's going to be the other weak side rusher on pass rushing down. So this is going to be a full-time player, sort of a hybrid. I don't want to see too much dropping into coverage. I don't want to see this guy is a traditional pass rusher. This guy should be going straight ahead. I don't want to see when he was drafted 13 overall, by the way, he was drafted the same year Derek Barnett was drafted, one slot ahead of Derek Barnett. When he was drafted by Arizona, his first 3 seasons, they played him at Sam linebacker, and they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. And all of a sudden they said, well, screw it. Let's let him go after the pass rusher in his final year, which turned out to be his 4th year. Remember, they could have had him for his 5th year. And he goes out and gets, I think, 12 and a half sacks. And then he goes to Carolina back with Matt Rule, and he knows how to use him. And he gets 11 sacks. And, that's what he does well. That's what you need. So I like it. It makes sense, but I got to see it. I got to see these guys, because anytime I see Deebo Samuel's another one we brought up on the offensive side of the ball. Oh, I want Deebo Samuel. Yeah, well, you should want Kyle Shanahan, because he's the one who uses Deebo Samuel the way he uses him. So this is on notice for Jonathon Gannon. This is the type of player you wanted. This is the weird position you want to unveil on the rest of the NFL. Well, there you go, buddy. Let's do it. Let's do it, JG. Happy Tuesday, SJG. Happy Tuesday. Now go use this guy, because the worst thing in the world is if you're sticking a 237-pound guy at defensive end and say, "Oh, it's December. Go hold up on the edge." All I'm saying, Jody, all I'm saying is I'm a little bit more cautious than most.
Right. Or I could use the word doubtful. You're using cautious.
I'm
using doubtful. You're a bigger Jonathon Gannon fan than I am, yet you're throwing it out there that you have your concerns about Jonathon Gannon when being able to figure out how to best use him.
You've heard me say it all the time. That's why I brought up the players. When there's unique players, and this is a unique player, you have to use him correctly. And I hear coaches give the lip service all the time, and they verbalize what they need to do, but then when the bullets are flying, they can't do it. I heard it for years with Cordero Patterson. I hear it now with people talking about the kid from Arkansas, Treylon Burks. Oh, he's the next Deebo Samuel. No, he's not. No, he's not. Because he can't go to Kyle Shanahan, because he's already got Deebo Samuel. So until somebody else proves they can utilize a player like that, I have a tough time believing it.
There you go. Here's the reason why I wanted Haason Reddick. Shoot, before there was a Birds 365 last year, leading into free agency, yours truly was singing the praises of Haason Reddick. I didn't want to stop over in Carolina for a year for Haason Reddick. I wanted him back here in Philadelphia last year. He chose a 1-year deal to go play for his former coach, and guess what? He went and proved it again for a year in Carolina. So I've been on this guy's bandwagon for a while. Here's why I'm even more impressed this year than last year. As you just stated, he's kind of a unique player. He's a little undersized for defensive tackle. He's not the guy who you want covering linebackers and or backs coming out of the back on an every down basis. I think he's capable of doing it. I just wouldn't call it a strong suit. His best attribute is straight ahead up the field, get to the quarterback, as evidenced by his double-digit sacks the past 2 years, which, by the way, and you can draw your line in the sand anywhere, if you just tracked the last 6 games of 2020 and all of 2021, there are two players in the entire National Football League that have more sacks than Haason Reddick, J.J. White and Trey Hendrickson. That's it. He's number 3 from the last 6 weeks of the 2020 season to the end of this past season.
He's top 5, and if you go all the way back to both seasons, he's top 5 over the past 2 years. One of the things
I'm moving him up to number 3. You got him at 5. I got him at 3. He's from the last 6 games.
Well, one of the things, and I said that, I know, because I know people, they're going to pick out the negative. I also said he makes perfect sense for this team. He's a finisher, which I often talk about all the time. And the Eagles haven't had a finisher. You got to go back to Connor Barwin's 14.5 sack season in, I don't know what, 2014, 2015, somewhere in that range. The last time they had an edge rusher that had double-digit sacks. he's got double-digit sacks over the past 2 seasons in 2 different spots under 2 different coaches. Now, one knows him very well, as you mentioned, and Arizona sort of misutilized him for 3 years and then said, oh, screw it. We're going to let him just go straight ahead because he's really athletic. So you kind of see the dichotomy. That's all I'm saying. You saw in Arizona. He was in Arizona for 4 years. They utilized him improperly for 3 of the 4 years. And again, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option because of that, because of the first 3 years. So you see the difference right there, Jody, of a coaching staff using a player incorrectly and a coaching staff using a player correctly. Now, the positive is Jonathon Gannon has already verbalized the way to do it. All I'm saying is I got to see it. That's all I'm saying. If he does it right, I think the Eagles got themselves a very good player.
Here's why I'll give the Eagles a little bit more credit for what they just decided to do. It wasn't just one team. You mentioned Deebo Samuel a couple of times, and you're right. He's a great example of, well, we know the 49ers figured out how to use Deebo Samuel. We're not sure the next team is going to go and do the same with a player that you want to try and comp to Deebo Samuel. You got to do it first if it's never been done before. This kid's done it with 2 teams, not one. One team that didn't use him correctly for 3.5 or 4 years, and one team that used him correctly. And oh, by the way, if you just, Matt Rule knows it. Well, Matt Rule's supposed to know how to use Robbie Anderson too. And he went down to Carolina. He's not even close to the player that he was with the Jets. So just having had a kid on a collegiate level doesn't guarantee you get your hands on him as an NFL coach that you're going to get the absolute most out of him. He's done it in 2 different spots. That's why I'm betting on Jonathon Gannon being able to figure out a scheme, how to use him, get the most production out of him, be the finisher that you described him as. Yes, we've seen him now do it with 2 different teams. That means he's not, to me, just a one-trick pony. That they've 2 different defenses have figured out a way how to get the most out of this young man.
All right, let me try it this way. I don't have any questions about this kid as a pass rusher. None. I was talking to a former Eagle scout. He said what he does and what Gannon wants is you got to win quickly in the modern NFL. You think about Tom Brady getting the football out, and immediately. So if you're on the defensive line, defensive end, defensive tackle, you got to win quickly. And he says he wins quickly. I have no doubt on him as a pass rusher. My concern is how much am I going to see this kid chasing a tight end down the seam or chasing a running back on a wheel route or, as I said, playing 5 technique or 4-eye or some of the nonsense they do with the multiple fronts, more likely 9 or 7 for Haason Reddick. Hold up the edge. Just like I said, Jody, it's March. Nobody gives a shit about the running game in March. Nobody cares about it. Nobody's invested in it. And then all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and everybody's trying to run the football. And hopefully the Eagles get to the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. Great pass rusher. That's what the Eagles need. I hope that's what they got him for. But, we've seen this position, okay? This Sam linebacker position. Now, he didn't have the talent. I'm the biggest JG guy in the world, right? He didn't have the talent. He's thrown out Jannard Avery and Patrick Johnson, who was a rookie 7th-round pick last year, for a couple snaps.
And don't forget the phenomenal defensive end we picked up from at the time Washington football team, now Commanders, potentially playing Sam linebacker last year, which I saw the praises of the signing.
Well, Ryan Kerrigan's my point. He didn't play Sam linebacker. He probably should have, but he didn't. He kept him at defensive end. He had him in those weird spots I was talking about. Sometimes 5 technique, like it's a 3-4. Sometimes 7. Out of position. And that's one of the reasons Ryan Kerrigan, most of it, I'm not going to let Ryan Kerrigan off the hook. There's not a lot of gas left in the tank. But I will say, if you go to the playoff game. It took him 17 sticking games, but he's pretty good against Tampa Bay. For some reason, when they just let him go after the passer, it looked a little bit better. Now, I'm not, again.
There you go. Then that's what you're looking for out of the signing they got yesterday. Plug him into Ryan Kerrigan's role of the passer.
No. That is not what I'm saying, and people will misconstrue that. In fact, that is the worst thing in the world. If you got Ryan Kerrigan trying to play 5 technique, that is a disaster, as it showed to be a disaster. If you have Haason Reddick playing 5 technique, now you can do it for a play or two. If you're trying to give a quarterback a quirky look, I'm not talking about you can never do it. I'm saying if there's significant snaps on him doing anything but stinking going after the passer, I'm going to have a problem with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say.
What I'm trying to say is I think the kid is a natural talent. And yes, if that means I'm putting my faith in Jonathon Gannon, I'm putting my faith in Jonathon Gannon.
It's a 180. Jody Mack, all in on Jonathon Gannon. Johnny Mack.
I was never all out either. I just wasn't as in as my partner, John McMullen. Well, I acknowledge that statistically, the Eagles had a pretty damn good defensive year last year.
Yes,
There's a lot of metric you can use to measure the Eagles and what they did defensively.
Especially for the talent level.
That's a big part of it. No kidding. And yeah, they needed to upgrade the talent. And guess what they did?
And they certainly did that. They certainly upgraded the talent level.
With Haason Reddick yesterday. So I thought it was a very good signing. All right, when we come back, we need to talk about another position. And I'm seeing that another guy has come off the board that the Eagles may have, or at least should have had some interest in, and that's the wide receiver position. Christian, holy mackerel.
He blew everything up at wide receiver. What the hell?
I was a Christian Kirk fan. I thought that the Eagles should be interested in him. At that money, no chance, no shot, no way, no how.
It's like Tony Khan woke up from paying every wrestler in the world 7 figures to say, hey, let's take some of this money and give it to Christian Kirk. Now, I mean, good player. I think he would have been a great fit here, but that's a disaster in way. I say this all the time, Jody. Yeah, even J.C. Jackson, who signed with the Chargers, and I love what the Chargers are doing. Again, it's March. They got the young quarterback. They're what everybody says they're going to do if they get the young quarterback, right? Then you can build up around him, and they go out and get Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. I guarantee he fails. And that's a city, and by fail, I mean 2 years.
I was going to say, you need to define failure, but
2 years and out, or 2 years in massive restructure. I'm going to guarantee he might be a good player. He is a good player. I'm saying the expectations, even in a city where nobody cares about the Chargers, they don't care about the Super Bowl champions. Never mind the Chargers. They don't care. But because of his contract, the national media, they're going to expect the greatest cornerback of all time, and he's not. He's really good.
He's not even the greatest quarterback in the building.
No.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey is, and Jalen Ramsey is making more. Now, he's right in the same neighborhood, maybe the same pew, but he's not sitting in the row in front of him. He's sitting slightly behind him.
And Christian Kirk is a better example of this because JC's a really good player. But even with J.C. Jackson, I mean, Christian Kirk, you're paying him like he's a superstar receiver, and the Eagles are probably like, in fact, I was texting with a couple agents yesterday. They think the wide receiver market slowed because of that reason. Other agents are looking at their receivers and going, well, let's scale it on Christian. You can't do that because everybody's looking at the Jaguars and going, what the hell? They have a ton of money.
You can try. You might not be able to get it done. But if I'm an agent, that's exactly what I'm doing. Hey, my guy's as good as this guy. You got to pay me this guy's money. You can ask. You might not get it done. But there are wide receivers continuing to come off the board. All right. We got to take our first break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the wide receiver position. And we'll see if John McMullen agrees with me. The whole conversation of Eagles not taking a wide receiver in the first round for the 3rd consecutive year not happening. Oh, yeah, it might. If they don't come away with anything in free agency, we all know there's got to be an upgrade at wide receiver. Well, how are you going to do it if not through free agency? It may very well be the draft. We'll come back and talk about that next. Dave Zingao is going to join us as well from NBC Sports Philadelphia. We'll put it to him here on Birds 365.